Well, I'm one of these boring people who just does as the doctor tells me. So I was told to take a blood test, a PSA test, and the PSA test obviously established in the minds of the doctors that I had a problem. So I got a call and they told me I had cancer. Well, look, I'm most probably different from a lot of people, and I really sometimes marvel at the extent to which people become their own doctors. I'm not one of those people. So I was put in contact with Professor Stricker, who is a world-class surgeon in all of this, and he sat me down, and I remember at one stage in the conversation I went to ask a question. He said, told me something like, "Keep quiet, I'm not finished yet," or words to that effect. But he explained everything to me quite clearly, what the range of options meant, and then obviously, as a doctor must, he then asked me what procedure I wanted, and I straight away said I wouldn't have a clue. That's not my competence. I trusted him. I knew he would advise me as to the best procedure given his knowledge of my circumstances, and so I accepted his advice. Well, I had the invasive robotic surgery, and I was perfectly happy about that. I mean, one of the reasons I believe was that my prostate was very big, and so he advised me on the appropriate form of surgery consistent with my particular circumstances. Well, look, there are always problems initially, aren't there? I mean, obviously, when you have to have catheters and those sorts of things, you tend to worry and you're uncomfortable. But all I can say about the recovery is it was perfectly consistent with what Dr. Stricker told me. In other words, the nature of the care was first class, the knowledge of the care was equally first class, and there weren't too many inconsistencies along the way in terms of what they led me to believe was going to happen and what subsequently did happen. Well, again, you know, I come back to my original point that I think people are too much disposed to becoming their own doctors when they don't have any scholarship or knowledge whatsoever. The biggest advice, the best advice I could give to anybody is to stop self-analysis. Go to the best people. Stricker is outstanding. And so in all of that, I just simply did what people say, what was it like? Were you worried? Were you had cancer? I can honestly say I wasn't worried about any of those things. I thought, well, I don't have any competence in this field to be able to make any kind of objective judgment. Who can do that? Jane, his assistant, sat me down and discussed a whole lot of things with me. She was uninhibited. It was pretty explicit. But that's exactly what you want to hear. But you know, at the same time, there is access to appropriate knowledge if you want to find out more. So I can honestly say, though people don't believe it, I know it was cancer, but I can only speak for my circumstances. I didn't really have any inhibitions. I didn't think that, oh, I'm going to die tomorrow and this is going to be terrible. I thought, well, look, I'm told by all reliable commentators in this area that this bloke is really first class. Forget about it. So they said, lie on the slab, do it. I did, took the thing, go here, go there, do this. I did all of that. And as a result, I was back on deck, I think, pretty quickly. Well, look, I've made that message public on many, many occasions. And you've got to go to a doctor. You've got to get blood tests. And one of the concerns of people that I've subsequently spoken to, they say, yeah, but what if you find out that it's no good? I don't want all of that. I'm terrified. And I've had men crying to me in all of this. And I say, look, just abandon all of that. Go along and get it done. And if you do things regularly and you do things often, you're going to obviate the need for having to confront the fact that this is, you know, perhaps likely to lead to death. That's what people worry about, or impotence. They're concerned about all of these things. Well, stop all that self-analysis. Go and find out first. Then, of course, if, you know, you're given some choices later that you mightn't like, well, you're perfectly free to exercise those choices or reject what the doctor is suggesting to you. But at least I think it's best to know. And so get along, get your blood test, get your PSA test, go to the good people, get the good people. And I can understand that there are people who might be watching this in remote parts of Australia. Not everybody, because they say, oh, Alan Jones, you can get the best people. I appreciate that. And it must be very disconcerting for some who don't have access to good people, good surgeons. There must be, as there are in every field, crook doctors and crook surgeons. So you've got to try and be sure that the people you're dealing with really do have the answers and really do know. And that's where you use your own contact and you talk to people and ring people up and you ring up the Prostate Foundation and they'll give you very good advice. So there's a great army of literature out there, a library of it, where people can access what they need to know. And that's what they should do. The notion that ignorance, it's far better to be ignorant and not to know that something's got hold of me, is a fairly juvenile attitude to take, I think, because there are a whole heap of people around you, there are family, there are friends. They're always more worried than you are. They want you to get for yourself the very best treatment, and they want it to be done yesterday, not tomorrow. So my advice is, let the doctor do the worrying. I let Professor Stricker do the worrying. He turned out to be a very good worrier. That word's worrier, not warrior.